Hi, I'm Alvaro Henrique, and this is the second video we're making with the complete guitar works by Cesar Guerra-Peixe. Within each video, we also publish a lesson teaching how to play the work. This is your video lesson, how to play the 5 Preludes by Cesar Guerra-Peixe for guitar. I will put on the description of this video and somewhere on the screen a video for my performance if you haven't heard them yet. These 5 preludes, there is available score for free at the site Sesc Partituras. I'll put the link on the description below so you can download it for free. It's a service by one cultural organization in Brazil who has been doing a great work in making scores of Brazilian composers available. You should also enjoy the opportunity to check more scores for your instrument, for other instruments. They are all scores there are available for free. So these 5 preludes, they are a piece for someone who has been playing the guitar for 2 years, 2.5 years. Regarding the technique, if you have played this famous Carulli Andantino, you will be able to play all of them. They are so much easier than other famous 5 preludes, Villa-Lobos 5 preludes. But reading the score can be challenging. Because of the difficulty of reading the score, I recommend you to study in that order: Prelude 4, 3, 2, 1, and then Prelude 5. So I'll start my lesson with Prelude 4, which is the first one I recommend you to read. Prelude 4 is subtitled Canto do Mar. It's a translation would be Song from the Sea, Chant from the Sea. It's so not because of the mermaids, but because of the sound waves, the water waves, sea waves. They use Guerra-Peixe uses some dissonances here, which when their harmonics of each note crash with each other, they bring a sound that is similar to this of the sea waves. As when we start reading, it begins with an octave, very consonant, then a 9th enters, already some interesting dissonance, and then a cluster, D, E, F. This is the kind of dissonance that creates a sonority like the sea waves. So you should play these preludes slowly, because if you play it fast enough, especially in the last section, which is in 30-second notes, if you play it very fast, you will lose this effect of the harmonics of each note crashing each other, and when it blends, it creates this sound as if the waves of the waves in the beach. Okay, so it's quite easy to read. The composer says that you should play in tempo rubato. You should spend more time, especially in those dissonant chords that sound like waves. I recommend you to try your guitar, depending on your hand, your nails, or strings, your instrument. Some chords will sound more like sea waves than others. Look for those chords that blend more and spend more time on them. That's how you should bring the sound of this chant of the sea. Then let's go to where the measure changes to 3/4. Beware that in the score the publisher decided to write this D always a little bit to the right, and it gives us the impression that it's not together with the chords, but it is. So it begins with F, A flat, C sharp, and the D goes together, and then you play it in triplet. Then also together, together, then it's easy, okay? If it's a little bit difficult to reach each position, try studying only the position change, something like that. It's best when you study that to pluck the first chord, release, and then pluck the second one, not in slow motion, but as fast as possible. And it's even better if you think on your mind where each finger should play before you do the movement. Like a Jedi. That's right. If you practice that a few times, especially if you think before you move, then you should learn how to play it very fast. Right. So let's go to the next session. Then we have 18th notes. I'm a little bit confused how you say in American English those figures, some faster figures. It's 16th notes. Yeah, 16th notes. Sorry if I said wrong the first time. 16th note. Beware is this. They are the very same chords you have just played on the first part, but beware that the bass changes. It creates some pattern in the right hand, but it misleads you to think that you play the bass, the same bass every time, which is not. So let's read it note by note. We begin with a D, then another D, E and G sharp at the same time, the D with I, and then a note with P, but it's a different note. It's on the 50th string, not on the 4th, as you played before. Then A, M, I, P, but now on the 4th string. I, P on the 50th. Then A, M with a C sharp and D sharp. I, P, but on the 4th string. A, M with C sharp, G sharp and E string, E open string. D with I and the A with P. So beware that is sometimes something like AM, EP, EP, AM, EP, EIP, AM, IP, IM, IP. But the P changes often. Beware of that. Sometimes people play the wrong bass because they keep playing the same note on the bass throughout this section. If you pay attention on that, that will be easy to read, easy to play also. Beware that when you change the bass, there is a move when you play here. The bass changes to B, A, B. There will be no changes within the same measure, not upon changing the measure, so beware of that. Okay, read carefully, note by note. You won't make mistakes. It's quite easy. although reading, you may spend some time making sure if you're playing the correct sharps and flats, especially if you have played only tonal music so far. Okay, let's go to the next prelude, otherwise the video will be very long. So let's go to prelude number 3, Dança Fantástica, Fantastic Dance. This is written in 5/8 measure. Very often when people play measures in 5, they ask themselves if it is 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2. They ask that question because they want to play 2 beats, 2 accented beats on the measure. But this piece, I believe, doesn't require that. You have to play it as it was a 5 measure with only 1 stressed beat, only the very first one. You can play with 2 accented beats, but you will notice that some measures are 2 plus 3 and others are 3 plus 2, and there's no recurring pattern. It would change often if you play that way, and I think it sounds confusing. I believe it's best to stress only the very first beat all the time, and it will work. So I'll start with the 4th measure so you can hear what I'm saying. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And not something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? I think it, although these very first measures you can read them as 3 plus 2, I think it sounds confusing if you play that, especially when you play it fast. It's a quite easy piece. On the end of the very first page, we start to see some parallel thirds, especially when those thirds occur on the 50th and on the 40th string. It's very difficult to avoid this noise, this scratch noise. You can diminish it, and if you play it staccato, you can even prevent at all and play without any scratch at all. But I believe legato is quite important here. So I think some scratch are unavoidable. I have tried some fingerings which you change less of position. By doing that you avoid a lot of scratches. You can check the video to watch my fingering. It may help you, and if you want to avoid all scratches, all the noises, you should at least use that fingering, and only during this position changes you play staccato. I don't recommend. I think you should be a little bit patient with the noise here. Okay, then you're going up, 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 and then you find the very first reading challenge, that the main reason why I asked you not to begin playing by prelude number 1. You're seeing that you have 2 staves. The very first stave is writing only the open strings, and the second stave are notes which you have to play with your left hand. Guerra-Peixe does so because he uses a lot of effects that depend on making sure where open strings are. So if you choose a different fingering, and very often it is possible, you won't be able to get the effect he's searching for. So how you should read that. When the notes are exactly one above the others, you should play at the same time. So let's read note by note. You have on the inferior stave D sharp, F sharp, and then on the up stave you have a B. And the notes are exactly one above the others, so you should play at the same time. Then you have an A. Wow, but this A is an open string. Why isn't it written on the upper stave? Yeah, I second you, you know. Unfortunately, this score has some publication problems, and this is one of the reasons I believe people don't play these preludes as much as it should, as it deserves, because we lack a publication that is guitar friendly, and this is one of the things that demand an extra effort on reading. And well, I'm sorry, I can only say sorry for that, but you are right, it should be written on the upper stave. So okay, then you have on the inferior stave a C, and on the upper stave at the same time an E. So an A and then an A. And this is how it goes. And so on. It's quite easy to play, but the very first time you are reading that, it can be challenging. Please read note by note, slowly. Then when you decipher easily what's written, you will be able to speed that up very fast. Okay, let's go to the third page. Then you have this como arpa effect. I think the best way to do that is you repeat the thumb twice, P, P, and then just I am A throughout one note each string easily. Then on the last you can stroke all of them with the thumb, but it may be tricky, you know, playing this E string clearly, and especially with the A. So it can be challenging. I prefer playing P, P, I, M, A, then I can release everything. It's my mark. After the A here, I can release everything and change position. Okay? Then Guerra-Peixe writes dedilhado igual. This means same fingering. Yeah, there something good in this publication should happen. The composer is telling us that it is the very same fingering all the time. It's helping a lot. So just keep the same fingering throughout this part and it will be okay. Nice. Next prelude. So you should then play the prelude number 2. Prelude number 2, isochronia. It's a word of Greek origin. It would mean the same tempo, the same time. It does keep the very same fingering on the right hand with a minor variation. Okay? But I believe it's probably, although it's quite easy to play, there's no challenging part whatsoever. It's quite easy to play throughout it. It will be probably technically be easier than Prelude 3, but it is more challenging to read. Let's read note by note. Right from the start, the composer uses this, the publisher uses these two staves, the upper stave, open strings, the inferior stave, note you should play with your left hand. Let's understand note by note. The first note is the G. You see, it is alone. It's best if you check those two parallel lines that make the 16th note. It's best to check from there. So you start with a G, then a D open string. Then you have two notes that should be played together. A B flat on the third string and a B natural, a second open string at the same time. Then a G, D, B flat, B, B flat, D, B flat and B natural at the same time, D and G. And on the right hand it will be pretty much like that throughout the piece. Okay, it is quite easy. However, we also have some publishing mistakes. You will notice that throughout the piece you have this parallel 10th between the 60th and the 3rd string that should keep during the piece, and it does keep in one of the composer's manuscripts. But here in this publication, sometimes it changes the note on the 60th string, but it doesn't change on the 3rd. And also sometimes it changes the note on the 3rd string, but it doesn't change on the 60th, and it's wrong. I recommend you to listen to my video, check there. There are lots of moments where I show more clearly my left hand, and you should check where are the moments where there are wrong notes. There are two moments on the first page, they are also on the second page. I think it's easier if you check from the video. Let's go to the next prelude, otherwise the video will be too long. Prelude number 1, once more, 2 staves. First stave, open strings only. Second stave, notes you should play also with your left hand. Here it's easier to read than Prelude 2 because there is no time where you should play 2 notes at the same time. So it's C, E, B, E, B, E, C, E, B, E, B, E, C, E, B, E. So pretty much P, I, M, A, you go back, M, I, P, up once more, back and up a 3rd time, and then you repeat the pattern, pretty much like that. And then you keep up. It changes a little bit. There are moments where he writes the very same note tied with the note of the arpeggio. This is a way of that the composer writes that you should sustain that note a little bit longer. He could use a fermata. Yeah, it would be best if he used a fermata, but as I told you, this piece needs another publication, more guitar friendly. Okay, let's move to the pochissimo meno on the second page. Then you have some parallel thirds going on. The very first one, which you also have a bass, you could play everything with the thumb, and then all the other notes with I, M, I, and so on. But the next thirds, it's best if you play with Pi at the same time, and then the other notes with M, I, M. Okay, it will work best. It's quite easy, just be aware of that. Then on the third page there is a challenging change of position. You are coming from this C sharp, E, then you are going to this E natural, F sharp, and a B. And you also have to keep playing the first open string. This can be challenging, especially because you have to change your hand position. When you're playing the C sharp, that's easier to play with that hand position, and then you have to bend your wrist to be able to achieve that note. You should practice that by playing the very first note, think on the next notes you should change, think before, think, then you play. It may be challenging, but if you study a few times like that, 4 or 3 times, 1 minute, 2 minutes, you will notice that you will be able to play this left hand position with no mistake. Right, let's go to the last prelude, prelude number 4, the most beautiful one, the most famous one. Beware of the right hand. There are 2 challenges on the right hand that if you overcome them, you will play that piece beautifully. First, this rhythm pattern. Try to practice first only the right hand. You could play the open strings, or you can mute the strings to focus on the right hand. So you are going to play A, then 3 trebles at the same time, then A on the 15th, the A on the 4th, and the 3 trebles once more. So it is this pattern. And the most challenging is what you have to do with that thumb. So you may play that separately first. So first, then. If you play like that, practice every pattern a few times, 1 minute, 2 minutes, then you will master it. When you have to play the melody, sometimes we want to play the thumb together with the melody, and we play the wrong rhythm by doing that. Remember that you have to play, for example, it begins F, A, C, then you have to play B, and the bass, and then the F sharp. The bass happens between the B and the F sharp, not with the B and not with the F sharp. Those are the most 2 common mistakes. People either play the thumb along with the B or along with the F sharp. Both are wrong. It's between the B and the F sharp. I usually count, it's easier to count in Portuguese. 1, 2, 2, and 1, 2, 2, and 1, 2, 2, and 1, 2, 2, and 1, 2, 2, and. Then, if you master that, you can also study only the pattern. When you master those 2 rhythms with your right hand, then you are ready to master the piece and play it perfectly. It's not that difficult, not that challenging. I'm only pointing some musical choice of mine, so you can know what I'm doing. You are welcome to copy that or not. On the end, when you have those 4th and 50th on the end of the second page, I'm talking about this part. I think that piece is more close to one Northeast dance called caboclinho. and it has an accent on the second 18th note. Because of that, I'm doing that accent. But it's people may disagree with me. Some people don't think it is in acarboclinho, so they play the accent on the first beat. And I do the accent on the second 18th note. Do as you like. Both ways work. Both ways will be faithful to the composer's intention. Thanks a lot for watching that video, and although we have these challenges with this publication, it's a very worthwhile piece. You can play it. They sound much more difficult than they actually are, especially technically. It does have some reading difficulties, but it's a very enjoyable piece. I'm sure you're going to love, and I thank you for your interest on playing such a wonderful piece by Cesar Guerra-Peixe. Have fun!